call this town board meeting to order at 12 noon on December 26, 2024. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to suspend with the ground rules. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Supervisor Evans?
Here.
Councilwoman Cunningham?
Here.
Councilman Malone?
Present.
Councilman Perruzza?
Here.
Councilman
Here.
Turner to the town?
Present.
Okay, we're here today for those at home and in the audience to ratify an agreement reached with the CSCA Blue Collar Union. And with that, we're going to move on to the resolution. Madam Clerk, can you please read the resolution?
Resolution 2024-1, ratifying the CSEA Blue Collar Tentative Agreement.
Motion to adopt? May I have a second?
Second.
May I have an explanation?
Thank you, Supervisor Evans. So I'm pleased to be here to present the blue collar contract today. We met with the team over the last month. The contract, well, first I'd like to thank the CSEA team. They were very cooperative, met at times reasonable for both parties. I'd also like to thank Harder Seacrest attorney Jeffrey Calabrese for participating, as well as Commissioner McGee. We got this done rather quickly. The contract itself includes an 8% wage increase over 3 years. There's health insurance savings by moving the employees to a high deductible plan. They'll get a town-sponsored HSA with that, which is consistent with what we've done for non-represented employees. We added Juneteenth as a holiday for this unit. They're also going to enjoy some of the benefits that the town's passed some policies at paid parental leave, as well as a more modern bereavement policy, and those are now part of the contract. We've identified a purchasing source for clothing, so they'll be able to place orders at a store rather than just get a uniform allowance once a year. And the CBA will also define qualifications as it pertains to promotions. And, now we won't just rely on, experience performing certain tasks or seniority, but a more well-rounded vision of what we want from our employees. And we also tweaked the out-of-title agreement that we had in the contract. So now, again, instead of a list of different parameters where we would pay someone out of title, it's now really when someone's temporarily replacing another employee. My understanding is that the union overwhelmingly supported this. They voted in favor, and we ask for your support today to ratify the contract.
Madam Commissioner, you need to add anything? Any questions or comments?
Yeah, if I could, Jason. First off, humor me for a second. How many employees do we have that are going to fall under this agreement that work for the town?
There are 59 positions, I believe, currently in this unit.
Okay, thank you. And I guess that's going to lead to my next question. I guess for 2025, I understand it's a 4% increase. Was there a provision in our budget for this? I know we just finished the negotiations. My question is this a budget item or isn't it for the increases?
Yes, I met with the controller and the HR director, and Mr. Director Cook, correct me if I was wrong. We looked at several different worst case, best case scenarios, and we tried to pick a number, but we do have the flexibility to amend the budget if it went above that amount. So we started with a number, what the worst case was. We war gamed it between us. And then we picked a number. And then we have this negotiation, we have another negotiation. If it was beyond that number, then we'll come back and amend it.
So far then, Supervisor, are we within that number for this particular CBA? Is that what I understand?
Correct me if I'm wrong, the answer is yes.
Overall, yes. The first year, we're giving them more of a wage increase than was budgeted for. We put a placeholder in at a smaller percentage in the budget, but we are finding savings with the health plan, among other areas within the town, and there are currently a couple vacancies that we won't be filling immediately. We'll be able to meet the budget within 2025.
So thank you. That answered my question that these increases are part of the budget for 2025.
The wage increase
The wage increases.
was not budgeted at 4%. It was budgeted at 1.5%. But we can find the savings elsewhere.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, so where we're at now, we would suggest that there won't be a need to change the budget at this current moment.
Okay.
And then we have left open for the second negotiation. If it goes above what we have budgeted, we can't find the savings, then we'll come back for an amendment.
Is there a dollar amount right now? What do we have a dollar amount? What is it?
Yes, but we're actually in negotiations with another union, and I don't want to give that dollar amount because that gives them an unfair advantage as far as what our budget is.
So the shortfall, we can't say anything what the shortfall is right now, is it, right?
We don't have a shortfall.
Well, there's a difference. We had to make up some kind of money, right, between what we budgeted for and what we had 2.5% to make up, right?
Because we have other savings from the negotiation, we don't have to change the budget.
Well, I don't think so, but there had to be some kind of there was a number, wasn't there, what it was?
Yes, again, we're in the middle of negotiations with another union, and I don't think that's appropriate to give those figures out at this time.
Okay.
Mr. Director, correct me if I'm wrong, I can stand corrected. Am I correct on that fact?
I would have to defer to the board what information, is relevant to speak.
Mr. Attorney?
Yeah, I think the point is that the 4% is higher than the amount of 1.5 that was budgeted, and certainly that would, the dollar figure that goes with that would be higher, but then there will be other savings that will be to the favor of the town in other aspects that were achieved through the negotiation. So you can't simply look at the difference between 1.5 and 4 and make the determination that there will be a greater expense of monies to the town. It really is a net figure that you have to be concerned with, and that is those figures we don't want to discuss at this point because there are other negotiations to take place with other units.
So to that point, could we get that information once the second negotiation is complete?
I actually think that we should have that information before. I think we should, I did not know about contract negotiation, and I would like to know a little bit more information about the next, whatever one is going on now. I'm actually pretty surprised that we're hearing about this.
In the beginning of the year, I'm sorry to cut you off. In the beginning of the year, it was identified that we had 2 union contracts that we needed to negotiate. CSE blue collar, CSEA white collar. That was a known, I'm sorry that you don't remember that, but that has been a known figure. I've mentioned at least 12 times that my goal is to raise the income of our workers, and here is why. We have these negotiations coming up. So I've mentioned it multiple times in multiple different sessions.
I apologize for that. I was not on the board at that point, and and I am not questioning raising the wages at all. I would just appreciate while the process while it's in process, having a little bit more information and a little bit more.
That process has always been between the supervisor and the union. At some point, if you look at the way the other towns actually negotiate, they actually exclude the lawyer in the negotiation. It's not a town board. It is actually between the supervisor and the union. So when I meet with my 19 supervisors, they have a process, and we actually go one step beyond by adding in a legal negotiator to negotiate it. Having too many people in a pot of negotiations is a record for disaster. So therefore, you appoint me as the town supervisor to negotiate on behalf. At the point that we come to a contract, I come to the board and say, here's what we want. If there's something specific in here that you want to change, after the union has ratified it, then you give me what those changes are, and there's one point of contact for negotiation. That's the way it's always been. Any hostage negotiation, any crisis negotiator, any union negotiator does not negotiate with the board. I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm sorry that you feel in the dark, but what you're asking for is disastrous.
If you would let me explain, Mr. Supervisor, I'm not asking to be at the table. I 100% agree that the board should not be at the table, and I also agree that during negotiations, the supervisor should not be at the table. I 100%. But I actually am used to being advised of the process, that it's actually happening, and actually I am used to setting the parameters and being advised, since it does impact the budget. I was not going to bring this up publicly, but to hear that there's another negotiation going on and that we're not apprised of it, I do not feel any board member should ever be at the table while negotiating. Nor do I feel that town board members meet individually with negotiation teams. So please understand, I would just like to be aware of the process while it's happening.
I mean, to me, there's three components to the budget as it relates to employees' expense at this point. There's the direct salaries, there's the benefits, and the number of employees. And I think it's been stated that, yes, our increase in salary is going up, as most increases do. But we've also have a shortfall by 2 employees. So you said there's representing 59 currently. We have the potential for 61, which is a 2-person savings, as well as the cost of health insurance, which is going down. And I understand that's a bit of a dynamic calculation, but I do think if you take those 3 things, it is absolutely conceivable that we are reducing or keeping the budget a status quo as it relates to employee expenses for this contract. I guess I can understand a little bit of the privacy related to the next contract, but I suppose that, offline, that could probably be divulged to the members of the board, what those numbers are, so that we can keep the bargaining benefit of that forward, moving forward. But, I trust that the people in charge of accounting, as it relates to this statistic, this line statistic, is giving us, straight up facts that in essence, it's neutral or slightly less, is what I heard earlier.
I agree with you, and I think that's why I'm suggesting the parameters, understanding the pool, and then let the negotiation team
Right.
figure that out.
And in the past, I have sat in on these contract negotiations. I think that there's always a town board member or a member of the supervisor's office that represents the board and negotiates those, along with the people that, you've stated here, Jason. And these things don't always come as timely as we would like. And the amount, And, honestly, our budget is dynamic. We do set some pretty strong parameters for what we do for the budget, but there's always a little give and take as we move through the year. We amend the budget periodically at board meetings as information comes forward, and I know this is seemingly not as timely as we would like, but we need to get a contract ratified at this point of the year, so.
And I just want to be clear, I'm talking about communication. I am not asking to be at the table, nor do I agree with, as I stated, that a board member should be at the table. I think that undermines our negotiation team. And I put 100% faith in our negotiation team. I am only asking for communication.
Well, the date of this tentative agreement is December 13th, and we're at the 26th, so I think that those, and we were divulged this to a certain extent in advance. What is the other contract term? When are we trying to wrap that one up?
The CSEA white collar contract expires at the end of this year. We're not meeting with them again until January 6th.
And that was because their negotiator is not available, not because of anything on the town's part.
That's correct. Their health insurance expert wasn't available until then.
That happens.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? The resolution is adopted. Our next workshop meeting is January 13th, 2025. Our regular town board meeting is January 21st, 2025. This concludes our special town board meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The meeting is adjourned.